Hello, hello, hello. Welcome for another episode of a Veterans Day celebration. We celebrate day two of the veteran. We couldn't just do it one time. And so we got a special young lady in the place today, the one and only Debra Christian. Say hello to the people, Miss Debra.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, we glad to have you on, Miss Debra. Uh, I got something in my hand here. Uh,
Hey,
from Slavery to Bravery by a young lady. I think the name says Debra Christian on there. So, and also here's the back of it of a young lady
nice.
we know that you might know that woman. Her name is Debra Christian. I don't know if you ever ran into her before, but you might know
I've seen her once or twice.
her. Miss Debra, if you don't mind, could you share with the people, um, you know, why did you write this as your first book?
Right. Thank you for having me, first of all. This goes back to when we got our land after slavery and how it evolved from the cotton patch to the oil patch, which is our second book. But we brought you up from where we came from, South Carolina, and we came in with our slave master, Gideon Christian, uh, Senior, was a father, and he had a child, an Indian woman that he fathered a child named Butcher Christian, which is my great great grandfather. So once they got to Texas, White Oak, the Civil War broke out in 1865. So our slave master had to go to war, Civil War. But when he came back, he realized, you know what? Slavery is over, and you're my brother, and I'm going to allow you to own some of the same land that you used to work for us. And with that, he put deeds on record at the Great County Courthouse showing that this land belongs to you and your heirs. And over time, as my father, Randall Christian, came home from his wars and retired, he wanted me to help understand what happened to all our land. And so as I began to investigate in 207, I came up with the realization that we still own that land and we're still paying taxes on the land. And not only that, it became the East Texas oil field. And so we were born on the farm that became the biggest oil field in the world. And so there's a lot of holes and gaps of where we should be. So my book begins to tell you the beginning of my heritage and who I belong to. And not only that, as being put in the Daughters of the Confederate here this year, it shows my lineage on both sides, which was very important to understand the foundation of where I came from first. And so the book is our history, our legacy. And so when we realized it was in such bad shape after we came back from all the wars as a family, military family, my father's goal was to get this straightened out. And I was given the task. And 17 years later, we're still fighting some of the issues, as you will know later on in this second book. But the great thing is that our young veterans coming home will be able to capitalize on not having a job and looking for something when we have put this organization together with a mission to take care of our returning veterans, to give them food and shelter and education. So, right today, we house over 18 to 20 veterans per night for the last 13 years. And these veterans are older veterans. And so they'll be over here for Thanksgiving as we usually share dinner together. But the good thing, the younger veterans coming in next year will be part of the legacy in the White Oak land where we will go out there, clean off the land, and reposition them with shelter and training. And not only that, I bought all the oil wells for Savage that used to belong to my great great grandfather, Butcher Christian. We will work with the Railroad Commission as they have been so kind to go out and do an environmental survey of what has happened to our land. And so with that, they're putting a grant together, which is called a brownfield grant. And I thank God for the Railroad Commission, because once I got in touch with them in Austin, Texas, Kilgore, Texas, they put the lights on and they went after the people and the crooks that had left our land so devastated. I just wanted you to know the opening of our book, and not to give you all the details, but you will understand how the beneficiary of all this bad will turn good at the end, and the truth will come out. As my mother would say, you could crush the truth against the face of the earth, but it'll rise again. I thank you for asking me about my book.
Oh, wow, wow. I'm telling you, y'all need to get the copy of the book. Please get it. Make sure that you get a copy of the book, From Slavery to Bravery. I mean, it's an amazing story, and they'll know more. I just think to myself, all right, Miss Deborah, don't give them too much now. We gotta leave something for them and whatnot, because the proof is in the pudding. But I want you to talk about, if you don't mind, your time, because you served in the military. So if you don't mind, could you share with us, why did you join the military, and what were some things that you learned during your time in the military?
Well, thank you for asking me again. So I want to really straighten this out. My father was a combat soldier all my life. And so he bore his children on the military base. So I'm really called a military brat. And so for all my life, from the day one, you understand one for all and all for one. So my father was the driving force of my military service in his military career. So when you say what part, it's in my DNA. The first hands that touched me were at Fort Riley, Kansas, on the military base. When you go around the world with your father, you serve too. When he grabs his bags, you grab yours. The only places we didn't go were Korea and Vietnam. But as we lived overseas in Alaska and Germany and Washington and Kansas, it shaped our future and thinking. And not only that, in 1960s, when they still had busing and they were segregating, the military said these military children will not be segregated. And so consequently, we went to school with everybody. And so when you say service, the service is in my DNA. The service is in my blood. And so why didn't I go into the service? I was my dad's only daughter. And he knew from being a black man in a segregated military, he did not want his daughter to serve there. And he always assured me, you have everything you need. You have the ID card, you have the dog tags, you have the training from the GI Bill, you're on my shoulder. And once I get home, if anything ever happens to me, I want you to be there to take care of me. And so, being a 100% service connected combat soldier, he came home with strapna and both legs became amputated, and I became his caretaker for 3 years. So my service is on the not direct on the military, but on the civilian side. And not only knowing that, once he came home with all four kids and retiring at a young and no job here that would train, and he would say, what job will train or hire a paid killer? My dad was a foot soldier. He was a frontline fighter. He was the one you sent out ahead before you see trouble. And so when he was repositioning and he had to get a job, his resume was just military services. And so nowadays we understand that needs to be transitioned into civilian world so that you can compete and have something to offer the world. And so my goal as we come up with the CRC is to let young veterans know, when you transition from military to civilian life, you have an organization that will take you step by step, your military services, your training, your education, your food, and shelter. And that's a big undertaking. And so next year we look forward to unveiling our second phase of our program. And so that's why I'm so adamant. And so, yes, I did serve. I served on the civilian side of my father all my life, and I continue to serve today.
Wow, that's amazing. Miss Deborah, you know, when I hear that portion of your story or whatnot, and the military background for as your family, and it shows that fight that you've been able to have for as no matter the obstacle, no matter what's coming against you, no matter if you got to travel to go to court, whatever the situation is, that where it might seem daunting or insurmountable for someone else or whatnot, some of the things that you're having to go through, but you keep fighting the good fight of faith. And so with that being said, I mean, I know this is for the veterans program and you got it's in your DNA or whatnot, all the way back to the Civil War, so to speak. But could you share with us what led you into servicing and having the nonprofit and servicing the veterans that you serve? What made you go that route? Because you could have went any route, but you went that route. So could you talk to us about that component of servicing the veterans?
Yes, thanks for asking. Well, in 2004, my father's health began to fail. And so the issues of the Agent Orange began to set in his immune system. And so he had a stroke. And so by 2006, he became very ill. And when he passed away in 2008, it was from service connected combat injuries. But to go when he was ailing, he realized, you know what, if there's something that you could fulfill, it would be something when young people come back like myself that had 4 kids and not a long resume, but wanted to do something. And so me and my father thought about our land and how it had been trashed out because he served over 25 to 30 years, how people in that area felt like, you left. And so we just took advantage of your land. And that should not be when you're fighting on the front line for your country. And so I think the greatest thing is when we talked before he got very ill and said, if this should never happen to any family, no American family should go fight on the front line and come back home and try to put the pieces together. And for me personally, the oil company put a restraining order on me not to ever enter my land again. So I fought many battles and many lawsuits to get just to be recognized that this is our land. And so, lo and behold, I'm still in court battles, which you'll know down the road. But the good thing about what is happening is the fact that although my father's gone, the judges that I've come up against at the Railroad Commission have been extraordinary. And the fact that once they the mission, they also realize if you can present your case, then we can help you get to where you need to go. And next week we'll be doing the closing arguments on 3 oil well companies. And so my father at age 24, he began to do the same thing to go out to the property with his grandfather, Butcher Christian, to understand why is it that everybody on our 665 acres is rich but us and we own the product. And so as we unfold what happened down the road, we're still the taxpayers of record. And he knew I had a lot of fight in me because he had my brothers, 3 brothers, and me, military family. He knew I would fight. Once you get a hold to it, if she gets to understand it, she's a bulldog. And so he placed things in my hand. When he became ill, I was his power of attorney. I was his guardian. I was his executor. He gave me all the tools that I would need to push forward. And one of his last words is, "Don't let him get away." And so he was a soldier. And so with that, I go out to his grave sometime, Dad, and I say, "I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it, Daddy." And I can hear him say, "Soldier on, soldier on." So that was the driving force, especially when you love your father. And that right there was my mission. And when you promise somebody, "I'm going to do everything I can before they pass away or when they pass away," you try and you try. So that's what I've been doing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And for those who listening to this, the deeper mission of deeper part of what we're listening to here with Miss Christian too is the importance of understanding faith, family, and also finances. this is a collective message here that we're hearing with Miss Debra Christian today, or whatnot, of what it is to have a big enough why. I know it's cliche, but this is not just an inspirational, motivational speech here, but that is something important. I think that most of us, that we're lacking, where you see anxiety levels in situations with people, because people have a lack of purpose. And I think that that's the same thing that Miss Christian and those that are a part of her team are doing for our veterans, is allowing for them to be able to have goals again, to be able to have a sense of meaning and purpose, and to utilize those transferable skills that they have. That, you know what, yeah, I might have had to do what I had to do for my country, but at the same time, I am a human being. I do have things that I still can do. I still have leadership skills. I know how to execute and get a task done. And so I just think that it's important for those who are listening to this as well to pick up from what Miss Christian is sharing with us. And also think about that for those who are listening from another generation, of the importance of people have fought too hard to put you in the position, to give you the luxuries that you have right now, to accommodate you with your cooling seats or your heated seats, for you just to lay back and not vote, or to move forward and not pay it forward by helping someone else, or to think about it that someone laid the proper foundation for you, but you're not willing to serve them. So we all must play our role. As one of my favorite books says, Miss Christian, we're many members, but one body. So when we get in sync to who we are and pass it forward or whatnot, I think that it'll be a better place. We're going to have information where people can be able to purchase the book. But if you don't mind, Miss Christian, could you share with the audience where they can find out more about the veterans, if someone want to donate, if it's things that people want to help assist and connect with you, how they can buy a book, whatever information, how they can connect with you, please share it at this time.
Yes, we have a website called crctyler.com. And on that website, you will see a spot where you can donate. And also, we will be putting we have the Amazon where the book, you can order the book. Next week on the radio, 101.4 on the ranch here in Tyler, Texas, they will be doing a 5-day blast to see about getting us some used equipment, so we can go out to our property in January and at least start under our U.S. Department of Labor program that's paid for as a student, and you register at the workforce. The fact that we will be out there clearing the land. So we would like to have as many young people, veterans returning, that are looking for a job and training and shelter, because we have hooked up with the resources in Marshall and Longview and the workforce, and we've created this school so that you can be a part and use your GI Bill. And not only that, you can use your stipend check, because we are a registered apprenticeship, so that you will be able to stay in our domiciliary style housing, in which we have 3 available right now. The rest are full, and we will be creating more housing in the future, along with people that would like to bring a travel trailer in. In White Oak, we have spots that we are lotting off so that you can come with a travel trailer and go to school and start small. And this reminds me, when my great grandfather in the 1930s, he signed the oil lease, and he allowed, and they were called switchers, to live on the property in a trailer and to work the wells. But what happened over time, they built these mansions on our land, and they don't really own them. So as time goes on, we will straighten all that out as my new students come and register at the workforce under the STEM, technology and engineering courses. And we will get back everything and put that back in order and take it back out for the young veterans to enjoy. The frontline fighters, the people that give up so much, as my father had. And I didn't mention my mother served 34 years civil service side by side in Germany, in Fort Campbell. And so as a woman, she's here, and she will be mentioned in our next book, because without her, I would not have had a window view, because she was the secretary and her mind is sharp. And so with me listening and putting pieces together, it helped me to where I am today and be able to tell you the story. Thank you.
Wow, this is amazing. Miss Debra Christian, you did an excellent job today, Sharon. I want to thank you too for your service. Definitely I want to tell Mama thank you for her service as well. That's my girl. We're going to connect later on that as well. But also just those who are listening to this, you can go from a setter to a squatter, where they get in Texas, where you can try to take the land, but we know who's in control and that it's being worked out. But I do want to thank you for coming on for this special edition of a continued process of programming of what we're doing for the Veterans Day, Veteran Week. So I want to thank you for your service, your family service, and also just sharing this amazing story. So if those of you who haven't got it yet, you can get it on Amazon. Look up Debra Christian, From Slavery to Bravery. This is the book. Definitely find that out. And we will share more details at another time when you have lunches or book signing, the book lunch or book signings in an area near someone as well when this COVID situation clears up. But once again, thank you, Miss Debra Christian, for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me. And my mother said, make sure to tell you hello. And when you come to Tyler, she wants to make sure she gets her kiss on the cheek.
All right. I'm gonna make sure I take care of that. I'm gonna make sure I take care of that. I'm gonna let the Lord use me. I'm gonna let him use me. So we're gonna have a good time. But for those who are tuned in and listening to this show, you can find the book. I got the information for the crctyler.com, where you can give your donation or contribute or use it as a tax write-off. Is at that time of the year, those who are looking for tax write-offs, depending on how the election goes too as well, you might need it. So at the end of the day, support a great cause, because you definitely want to be able to support our veterans and those who are making a difference, to give them the skills that they need to let the rest of their life be the best of your life. To the next time, remember, if you won't change, be the change. Be blessed and be great.